Growth can feel a lot like grief. You start realizing certain habits, routines, mindsets, even parts of your identity helped create the life that you say you no longer want. But letting go of those things doesn't always feel empowering at first. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable, empty, even lonely. Because even if your old life was limiting you now, it was still familiar. And that's the part nobody talks about. Transformation isn't just about becoming someone new. It's also about grieving who you used to be. The first thing to know is how people often romanticize growth. Social media portrays transformation as exciting and empowering. In reality, growth often feels disorienting at first, like that Mr. Krabs meme where the reality is distorting around him and he's looking around. Clarity can create emotional friction. You realize certain habits must die, certain comforts must go, certain identities no longer fit. You don't just build a new life, you outgrow the old one. Another thing to know is familiar suffering feels safer than unfamiliar growth. The nervous system prefers familiarity over potential. Even painful routines can feel emotionally safe. That's why some people can trauma bond, because it's predictable, more comfortable than the uncertainty. Old coping mechanisms once protected you. Your brain associates them with survival. A few examples are doom scrolling, staying up too late, emotional eating, avoidance, toxic relationships, playing small, constant distraction. People don't just fear failure, they fear losing what is familiar. Another major aspect is the concept of identity grief. Growth requires letting go of identities, social roles, comfort patterns, ego attachments. You may grieve the fun version of yourself, the reckless version, the constantly available version, the people pleaser, the victim identity, the version that avoided responsibility. Sometimes you're not grieving a person, you're grieving a version of yourself. Also, why does growth feel vulnerable? The losses are immediate and tangible. The rewards and gains are distant and uncertain. You know what you're losing: comfort, predictability, stimulation, old routines, certain relationships, but you don't fully know who you will become, whether it'll work, whether the sacrifice is worth it, and that creates psychological tension. Growth asks you to let go before life proves the replacement is worth it, and that's why it's so important to spend some time in clarity, removing distractions, narrowing down what actually is worth it to you to invest your time into, and will the process still be something that is beneficial even if the outcome isn't what we planned. Since nothing is guaranteed, being able to identify something that the challenge, the struggle, the quote-unquote suffering is something worth suffering for. There's also another aspect known as the void, which is a part of the phase of transformation. There's often a middle stage where old habits are gone, new identity isn't stable yet, life feels emotionally flat or uncertain. You're no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. This is where many people relapse into old habits. Most people quit in the middle because the middle feels empty. You can feel lost, no stable ground to stand on, and that's when our comforts, our old patterns, are always there to yell, whisper, tempt us back because it's familiar, because the pain or discomfort or distress of being lost or uncertain, we might not have the fortitude, the resilience, the belief in ourselves that we will find a new shore. We will find land again. We will not drift forever. But we have to be willing to lose sight of the shore and keep moving. Another thing to remember is grieving your former self with compassion is very important. Instead of hating your old self, understand why you became that version. Appreciate how it tried to protect you. Recognize its limitations. Your old self got you this far, but it may not be capable of taking you further. You can appreciate who you were without staying who you were. And transformation requires sacrifice. Anything worth it requires being able to, anything worth working towards gaining something is going to require being able to sacrifice something as a trade-off. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. Everything meaningful costs something. Peace costs stimulation. Discipline costs comfort. Clarity costs illusion. Freedom costs attachment. Every new life requires a funeral for the old one. You are not weak for struggling to let go of old habits, identities, or comforts. A part of you survived through them, but eventually survival and growth become two different paths. And there comes a moment where you have to decide whether familiarity matters more than freedom. If something resonated with you, consider leaving a comment below and sharing what felt most impactful. To support the channel, you can like, subscribe, and/or share this video with someone who you feel might also benefit. Additional ways to support the channel can be found in the links in the description below. You will also find a link to my website, cravingfreedom.com, where you can access my ebooks. On the website, you can also find descriptions of what to expect from the ebooks. And if you feel ready to commit to your path towards freedom and are seeking in-depth guidance and support, consider applying for one-on-one coaching. Answers to frequently asked questions can also be found on the website. Thank you for your time.